Do you remember the night of October the 19th of 2015? The air buzzed with hope, optimism, and a promise of change as Canadians turned out in record numbers to vote. That evening, under the glowing anticipation of a brighter future, Justin Trudeau stepped into the spotlight, declaring, "It's time for a real change in this country, my friends."
Thank you, my friends.
The cheers of Canadians echoed a collective vision of prosperity, equality, and progress. Fast forward to today, and that promised golden era feels like a distant dream. Instead, the nation finds itself grappling with sky-high living cost, economic stagnation, and a crumbling sense of optimism. Welcome to Canada's hidden struggles, where the land of promise hides a growing crisis. Ask any Canadian about their future, and you'll likely hear a mix of sarcasm and despair. Dreams of raising a family in a cozy home on a quiet street? That's now as mythical as a maple syrup fountain. Today, owning a home in Canada feels more like winning the lottery if the prize was a dilapidated bungalow with $1 million price tag. Here's why. The average family needs to earn $170,000 per year to buy a home in Canada. In Vancouver, that figure soars to $360,000. With a median family income of just $70,000, most Canadians see home ownership as impossible. Even those who manage to afford a home often wonder if it's worth it. In Vancouver, $2 million buys you a small house that wouldn't turn heads, while the same amount in Austin, Texas, could get you a mansion. For those content with renting, the picture isn't much better. Years of underbuilding, population growth, and government red tape have led to a severe rental shortage. With rental vacancies at an all-time low of 1.5%, finding a place feels like winning a lottery. Competition for apartments is fierce, with landlords raising rents to exploit desperate tenants. One renter faced a shocking $7,000 monthly increase. This housing crisis has left renters living paycheck to paycheck, or worse. The average one-bedroom apartment in Toronto or Vancouver costs nearly $3,000 a month, leaving little for necessities. Many Canadians are now relying on debt to survive, with the country ranking third globally in household debt to GDP ratios. Why has it come to this? The federal government's policies, particularly on immigration, play a big role. Since 2016, Canada has welcomed nearly 3 million immigrants, a 40% increase compared to previous decades, while housing supply has lagged far behind. Over 1 million international students have also joined the fray, putting further strain on an already stretched housing market. Students at UBC live in vans or commute by plane because it's cheaper than renting in Vancouver. But immigration isn't the sole culprit. Canada has underinvested in housing for decades, with an estimated 5 million homes needed by 2030 to stabilize the market, a target developers call unattainable. Local governments, pressured by homeowners who oppose new developments, NIMBYism, create hurdles with red tape and excessive taxes, adding up to 20% to the cost of new homes. The government itself has grown disproportionately. From 2020 to 2023, the BC public sector expanded by 23%, while the private sector grew by just 1%. At the federal level, $20 billion is added annually to budgets, pushing tax burdens higher. Meanwhile, foreign investors see Canada as a safe haven for wealth and for laundering money. A government report confirmed that black market funds are inflating prices in Vancouver and Toronto, yet little has been done to address this, leaving the door wide open for exploitation. For Canadians, the housing market is a perfect storm of policy failure, unchecked demand, and soaring cost. The dream of a home, or even affordable rent, is slipping further away, and with it, hope for a stable future. If housing wasn't crushing enough, let's talk about the other everyday costs Canadians face. Spoiler alert, it's not pretty. Let's start with food. Since 2022, food prices have risen by over 10%, pushing nearly 2 million Canadians to food banks in March 2023 alone, a grim record and double the number from 2019. One big reason? A lack of competition. While grocery stores rake in profits, the problem isn't greed, it's market control. Just a handful of companies own a whopping 80% of the grocery market, meaning they can charge whatever they like. Case in point, bread. This staple is practically monopolized by two companies, which isn't exactly helping struggling Canadians. And let's not forget the government's role in all of this. By protecting the poultry, egg, and dairy industries, Ottawa drives up prices, costing the average family $450 a year. That's rent money or groceries for a month down the drain. Oh, but we're just getting started. The federal government introduced a carbon tax to cut emissions, spur innovation, and supposedly put more cash in Canadians' pockets. Sounds great on paper, but in reality, it's making everything more expensive. Canadians now pay more for gas than anyone else in the G7, with heating costs skyrocketing too. The backlash has been fierce. Even Liberal MPs have turned against the carbon tax as complaints flood in. Atlantic Canadians in particular have had enough. Burdened by heating costs due to dirty and pricey fuel oil, their anger forced the government to waive the carbon tax in the region, an obvious attempt to salvage political support. While the government insists rebates make Canadians better off, the parliamentary budget officer disagrees. Once you factor in the broader economic hit, citizens are actually worse off. And the pain doesn't stop with food or fuel. Canadians also get hammered by some of the world's highest telecommunications costs. Imagine paying 7 times more than Australians for wireless services, or 1,000 times more than Finland. Sound absurd? It is. Even worse, when Rogers swallowed up Shaw, Canada's fourth largest telecom, the government waved it through. In most countries, such a merger would have been blocked or heavily scrutinized. Not in Canada, where big corporations call the shots. Banking isn't much better. Want to start your own bank? Good luck. Tight regulations make it almost impossible, leaving Canadians stuck with the same handful of banks and their sky-high fees. Canadians pay $250 more per year in banking fees compared to folks in the UK or Australia. Why? Once again, no competition. It doesn't end there. From soaring energy bills to overpriced everyday goods, Canada's cost of living is an endless barrage of economic punches. Bottom line, living in Canada feels like running a financial obstacle course with no finish line in sight. Want to make life easier for Canadians? One way would be to grow the economy and create high-paying jobs. Sounds simple, right? Well, not for Canada. Since 2019, economic productivity has been on the decline, while the U.S. has enjoyed a 6% boost. For Canadians, this means stagnant wages and a noticeable dip in quality of life. So, what's going wrong? A big part of the problem is the lack of private sector investment. Canadian businesses are parking their money outside the country like never before. And why? Because they believe the grass and profits are greener elsewhere. Companies are losing confidence in the Canadian government, which isn't exactly known for being business-friendly. Another culprit? Lack of competition. In Canada, a few dominant players control most major industries, and when there's no one to challenge them, they get comfortable. That means less innovation and less reinvestment. Compare that to the U.S., where low levels of market concentration keep companies scrambling for a competitive edge. The result? A steady stream of investment and progress. Government intervention has scared off investors, especially in the energy sector, with federal policies causing a $60 billion drop in annual energy investment since 2014. While pivoting to the future is key, Canada's tech sector hasn't filled the gap, as GDP growth from tech has barely outpaced inflation since 2016. Despite incentives, nothing is working, and Canada is losing startups and top talent at an alarming rate. Every year, 7% of Canadians leave for better opportunities in the U.S., where jobs pay more, the cost of living is lower, and innovation thrives. Meanwhile, hard-working Canadians are left holding the bag as productivity declines and life becomes tougher. Canada in 2024 stands at a crossroads, facing challenges like high housing costs, rising grocery bills, expensive energy, and a sluggish economy. But this is Canada, a country known for bouncing back. The solution? Bold policies to make housing affordable, break up monopolies, and promote sustainable industries. A better Canada is within reach, requiring visionary leadership and unity. While the Northern Lights may seem dim now, Canadians have the grit and optimism to weather the storm and create a brighter future. So, what's the next step for Canada? Will we find a way to tackle these hidden struggles, or will the dream continue to fade? It's up to all of us to demand change and push for a brighter, more prosperous future. If you're ready to join the conversation, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Stay tuned, because this journey is just getting started. See you next time.